Hello again, it's Lori from Glorious Creations. Thank you for joining me today. Come along with me while we make something glorious. I have some blue clay here, navy, Sculpey, Primo brand. I also have a little bit of translucent clay that I've already mixed with some navy blue alcohol ink, and I'll show you how I did that. This is what the alcohol ink bottle looks like. Casio. You might need a little bit of Sculpey liquid polymer clay. We're going to need some white acrylic paint. Any brand is fine. I have some translucent clay, and this is about 1/4 of a block. The inspiration for this video comes from my last video, and this is one of the pieces that is complete now. And my favorite part of it is this right here. Love how those lines look. Can you see them? Without the glare. And here it is all the way through into the back. So although I love these earrings and I love how they turned out, this is my favorite part. So I want to try and replicate that. So in order to do that, I've got my trusty paper plate. You do not have to use a paper plate, but I find that for me, when I'm going to make a mess, I like to work on the paper plate. Now, I have not mixed this clay up at all. It's just sitting here the way it came right out of the package. Because when I cut this up into smaller pieces, I like those angular lines. Because we're going to take that white paint and we're going to paint the outside of this. Now, if we just paint a big piece like this, when we put it all together, there's going to be a big section of blue with a little bit of white along the edges. So we want to make these pieces smaller than that. But we don't want to make our pieces too small, because if we make them too small, we'll lose the effect with the blue and the white. So let's go ahead and chop these up just a little bit. And I'm going to put these over here on the paper plate, and I'm starting with this first to give it some time to dry. The bare minimum that you will need today to do this, if you are a beginner, is just some clay, some paint, and a blade, and a roller. You can always add more. I'm doing my best to keep this one simple today and easy. Okay. Let's chop up a little bit more. I think I have enough. I don't think I'm going to use that whole block because I'm going to add in some of this. Okay, and you might need a paintbrush. I'm going to use my silicone brush because that's just what I prefer. It's not what you have to use. I have some pieces that are smaller and some that are larger. And I'm just going to mix them up over here in this paint and try and get all of the sides covered. Sometimes that's a little bit easier said than done. Just keep mixing it up. All right. Now I'm going to separate them back out a little bit and give them a chance to dry. Get off the brush. Thank you. See, that piece needs a little bit more. I will come back to these and mix them up a little bit more because the paint, as it's drying, will stick to the paper plate a little bit, which is not what we want it to do. We only want it to stick to our clay. Show you simply how you do the alcohol ink. I'm just going to take a small little section that I've already got rolled out. Let's move it. Let's put it on the paper plate too. Find a spot without any paint. Put a couple drops on it. The navy is dark. It works really well. Don't need a ton of it. Grab a different brush and just spread it out. This will dry quicker because I am just laying it on the surface. And then we're going to take this clay and we're going to mix it together. That's how we'll get this look. Now, here's a little trick for you. Tiny bit of alcohol. Put in here. Wipe it off. One more time. And there you go. Tip's pretty much clean again. And I just take the paper towel and soak it up. Alcohol is your best friend for cleaning up when you are using alcohol inks. So while we're waiting for that stuff to dry, I'll go ahead and chop this up and show you what it looks like on the inside. See? I was originally only going to do solid navy. But as I started working with it and thinking about it, I decided that if we add some translucent clay in there, with some navy coloring in it, it'll give the pieces more depth. So this is one option. You do not have to do this step. This is just a little extra something. And if you didn't want to completely mix it up, you could just partially mix it up. This is dry enough. Over here now. And it's okay if it gets a little bit of the white paint on it because we're mixing the white paint into it anyway. It's not going to hurt anything. A little bit like this, so you see the swirls in it, and then you get a little bit more effects of the translucent clay in there. But that's not the look that I want today. That's the way I want it. And add them to our little pile here. And then we're going to put it on the paper plate, and we're also going to add paint to this as well. To speed this up, I take a roller. Roll it out. Don't those look cool? I mean, even in its own right, that looks so awesome. That right there would make something really pretty. Hold it over. Do it again. And again. Just working that color all the way through it. Okay. Back to the paper plate again. Get all these small little pieces. Throw some more paint on here. And mix them up. And maybe if I just throw a little more paint on there, I'll be able to mix it up faster, but it'll take them a little bit longer to dry. But that's okay, because you guys aren't going to have to wait on the drying time with me at this moment, because I'm going to pause the video while it dries, and then I will be back, and we will continue working from there. This is a simple beginner's technique you can do with just a few items. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff. You don't have to use the alcohol ink. And I will show you what we're going to do next. I'm moving these off of the plate where they're sticking just a little bit, giving them a different spot to set. All right, guys, we're back. 99% of the clay is dry. There's just a few little spots that aren't dry. And see, I just touched that one right there. You can tell because they still have a little bit of a shininess to them. And when you separate them, they might stick to each other just a little bit. So we are almost there. I've moved them all around. And as I'm sitting here staring at these, I think I'm gonna be that bad person who's gonna tell you there's another ingredient that we're gonna add to this. I know, so much for saying that you only needed a few ingredients. My bad. Some glitter. I have some extra fine glitter here. That's what you want. You don't ever want to use big thick glitter because it won't stick well to your pieces. It'll cause you to have spots where there's just this chunk of glitter sticking out. It looks weird. I always want to use extra fine. Now most of it's going to be on my paper plate, so we're just going to go ahead and dump this out. Mix that glitter in there. You can tell it's still not quite dry because it's leaving marks on my fingers and my table. Here's the fun part, mixing in the liquid clay. See now how it's immediately sticking to my fingers? You need to include this because we've added paint to the clay and that will not stick to itself. But we can make it stick to itself by adding the liquid polymer clay back in and getting really dirty and messy. And I'm sorry if you don't like your hands yucky. This one's gonna be one of those moments where you're just gonna have to deal with it, get messy fingers, and then wash your hands. And I'm gonna press it down with the heel of my palm. And I'm gonna form it into a block. And I'm gonna convince all of those pieces to stick together again. Fortunately, that is the worst part about this type of a project, is the waiting time. But I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit, let it rest. I'm gonna go clean off my hands, clean off my table, and be back in time. So if you bring your fingers in, when you push down on your clay, it gives you more stability when you cut. Here we go. Moment of truth. Ooh, that looks cool, guys. Wow. I wasn't sure what to expect because I added the translucent, but I think that's going to be really neat. Because this one. Ooh. Decide which of the two you like better. I think I like this one on top better. And it's starting to bow a little bit on me. So I'm going to push those sides back in. And that's okay because once we have it over here on the clay and we roll it out, the pieces are going to move anyway. They're not going to stay in the exact same position that they're in right now. Let's see. And then bring this over here to the edge. Okay. Let's cut from this angle. Change our pressure points where we're applying the pressure on the clay. That is so cool looking. I like it. Grab our roller. Start working the clay gently, applying pressure. You don't want to press really hard at this point. You're just gently working the clay together and spreading it out a little bit. Now you could put it through your pasta machine if you wanted to, or if you had one. It will spread your clay out longer than this. I want it to stay more chunky. Okay. See how the clay is lengthening and spreading out? I'll raise it up and show you. Slide your blade underneath, shimmy it back and forth slightly. And I'm going to cut into your backing clay. So how it looks on the back. Still just a little bit thicker than I want it to be. So let's work it just a little bit more. Thin it out. Stretch the clay. Just take your time with it. Convince it to go where you need it to go, where you want it to go. Let's change the direction that we're rolling it. Slowly. grab a piece of scrap paper, lay it over the top, and burnish your clay. And use your fingers, use your roller. When you do that, it smooths it out. Gets rid of any fingerprints as I continue to touch it with my finger, right? Difference looks like. So in the last batch, I did use white backing clay, and I just did the paint. I didn't have any of the translucent in there. So a little bit of plastic wrap goes on top before I cut, as my personal preference. I'm going to start with this guy. Just because it's larger, it'll give me more options. I'm going to turn this one into a two-pieced? I can speak. I'm going to turn this one into a two-piece pendant. Press down, don't forget your center. Give it a little twist. Because it's plastic, sometimes they don't cut quite as sharp as your metal. All right, and one earring, two earrings. And we have imperfections. Sometimes you get more beauty from an imperfection than you do in perceived perfection. So the more that I can do now to get these cleaned up, the less sanding I will have to do on them after they're baked. Then, in this case, I could take it and I could smush it all back together and make something else. But today I'm going to take it and I'm going to make it into more of a snake. I'm going to put this piece in here. And I'm just going to kind of smush it back together and bring in all those little loose bits. And I'm going to roll it. Smush it back in together again. And roll it. And now I'm going to take it and I'm going to twist it a bit. Oh, and look, it fell apart. That's okay. You know what you do? You just take it and twist it, push it back together, smush it. Convince them that they want to hang out together. Okay. Now I'm going to take it and twist it. And just gently, not hard, just barely. And roll it. And twist. It's coming apart a little bit right there. Push it back together. Twist. All right. Decide which one of the sides you like the best. I like this part in here, but I don't like this part here. So I'm just going to twist it a little bit more and get a little bit more interest. See how it made that big chunk of translucent change? All right. Now I'm going to take my roller and I'm going to flatten it. I'm going to just press down just a little bit. See? Just a little bit. Widening it. Gently pushing it across the clay. I'm going to pick it up and look at it and see how thick it is. It's thicker than I want it to be still. Here's the back. And now you're going to get 2 earrings for the price of 1, basically. Or 2 sets of jewelry. Or 2 necklaces, or pendants, or cabochons, or whatever it is that you might be making. Difference between one that I put the saran wrap on versus one that I didn't. So you can see the curved edge here versus this one, which is thinner. This one may be also rolled out a little bit thinner, but I just wanted you to see the effect, how this is flatter. The edges are flatter, where this has the nice, smooth, curved edge. So here's the square piece that we did. I think it turned out really cool. I think it's gonna look really neat with these little earrings and perhaps a rhinestone dangling from it. And here's our circle. That turned out fun. So here's the scrap pieces that we did at the end with the leftovers. And I think they turned out absolutely stunning too. So starting out with the same thing, two different techniques. Both are easy to do. And you get all this beautiful, amazing stuff. These are a couple of my practice pieces that do not have any of the translucent clay. Really quick, I wanted to show you what the backgrounds look like. So here it is on the translucent. Here's our scrap piece. This is the one that I did before the video. And here it is on the white. This is the necklace piece that I put together. I'm trying to decide if I want to leave it like this or if I want to add a rhinestone to the end. What do you think? With a rhinestone? Without a rhinestone? I think it looked pretty either way. I just don't know. I'm so torn. I keep going back and forth. So for now, I'm going to leave it. But tell me what you think in the comments. Here's a small pair of earrings. I did some holographic glitter on the backs of these. And I went a little bit overboard with the other ones on the holographic glitter. But oh my goodness, it just... I know I had fun with it when I played with it in the video, but this time, using it with the resin, oh my goodness. It just is absolutely stunning. And do you remember early on in the beginning of the video when I said if you had a piece that was too big, you would just end up with a white paint around it? Well, there you go. Prime example of it right there. Okay, this is from the test group that I did, the practice group. So you can see the difference between what this looks like in my first round versus what I did for you guys on video. To be fair, this was more of what I was looking for based on the original piece that I showed you guys that I was trying to replicate. Although I love how they all turned out. I am not disappointed with any of them. It's just different techniques created different effects. And some more little ones and more of the holographic. I didn't put it on quite as heavy on that one as I did on those. Look at the difference. Oh my goodness. And that's on white, by the way. This is on translucent. Here's a piece that we did with the leftovers. And I left their backs blank because they just look so beautiful the way they are. And to be fair, I will show you what the two necklace pieces look like. I have not assembled this one yet, obviously. But I just love them all. I can't wait to finish assembling this collection and getting it up for you on my Etsy shop if you're interested. If not, no problem. But I just want to say thank you so much for spending your time with me. Thank you for watching. And if you've hung out with me for this long, please give me a like or a share. And once again, have a glorious day. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.